which is I'm going to predict it's going to be a Fremenic / Relica related raid, purely because everyone who lacks an imagination, which is 80% of the RuneScape player base, goes, I'd love to see a Relica Fremenic raid.
Welcome to the Wilderness Podcast. I'm your host, Trey, and I'm joined today by TravagGames. Travag, how you doing today? Thanks so much for coming on.
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I am doing my AFK mining in the background while we chat, and hopefully we'll get about a quarter of a level.
Are you stars or?
I'm doing Amethyst. I'm 98, so I'm 98 close to 99. Yeah, just chipping away.
Before we get into it, it's funny you bring this up because I'm so interested in this. So I maxed my main and I'm in the process of maxing my iron right now. And you have a kind of unique stance. I won't say against maxing, but you have a unique perspective on your maxing. Can you distill that in a couple sentences?
Yeah, I basically play this game in a way where I'm only doing what I feel like doing. And a lot of times that ends up being PVM and everything. So I have like ridiculous total XP. But that means like a lot of the times I'm not doing like even fire making. I think fire making might be one of my lowest skills at 96. I'm pretty close to max. Like I'm only like 20 so levels, including sailing away. And it's wild to me that sailing caught up with some of my skills that I've had for like so long. And so that's one side of it. And then the other side of it is updates. I love taking advantage of like XP from new updates. And when I have a 99 in a skill that's got an update, it kind of feels bad. So I kind of time around that. So fletching, I had, mid 90s for a while and I knew Veil Totems was coming out. So I wanted to like leverage that. So I just take my time. There's no rush to maxing for me. I've never had the max cape. So, I'm used to not having the quality of life. And I'll just take it one step at a time. But we're getting very close though.
There you go. That's all the never maxers out there. There's no rush, it's just a different style of play. And I think that's awesome. And I mean, even without the maxing side of it, that is what we should all do. This is a game we play for fun. We should all log on and do what we want to do. So I feel like I say that every single episode, but you can't say it enough. It's so important that we're just playing a game. And for me, it's fun to log on and have carombons going in the background constantly on this iron because it feels good to see that little bar go up. But
yeah.
So
I feel like max players probably miss it, after a while, right?
Yeah,
getting XP, like meaningful XP.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm my own worst enemy. I did the same thing I maxed my main and then abandoned it for an Iron Man, and I'll probably do. I don't think I'll do the same thing on my Iron, but yeah, it's like you get 99. Like I'll get 99 fishing, and I don't have Tempera screen logged, and I don't see myself going back there because I'm done with the skill in a sense. A little different, I guess, because I might go back for resources or something, but I don't know. It's I don't know why I do what I do. I guess it's it just feels good to see the levels go up, and I can't help myself. But anyways, so I'm super happy to have Travag on. I've been following your content. You're one of the creators. It's a weird feeling when I see someone who I feel like I saw your very first video. I'm not for sure, but it was one of those things where I watched this super well produced video, like that seems like somebody who's been doing this for 20 years. And I see the views, I see the subs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you just got started and you've been killing it from day one. And one of my favorite things following your account was the mastering mixology kind of digression.
Oh yeah.
When that first came out, I was like, oh, this guide is amazing. And then there were some changes, and then you made another video, and I think you ended up with a total of 3 different videos just trying to follow all of the changes with mastering mixology. That was fun. What was that interior monologue of like, do I make a new video? And then you did make a second video, and then it was like, oh my God, now I have to make a third video.
I know it feels, because I feel bad having a video that's like not relevant anymore. And I think I still have the second and first one published. They don't get many views by comparison, but once in a while I'll get a comment on it and I'll be like, oh no, you have to watch a newer one. I should probably delist it at some point. But in the moment it was like, oh, we got to keep doing videos, right? But honestly, like the next one did better than the previous one, which was so funny. Like the first one had smaller views by comparison.
Yeah.
And ultimately we ended up with like a pretty well produced, I think, video. Probably moved a little too fast because it's weird when you're redoing video, because I'm trying to think of the long term. I still want to keep it like intro level. I don't just want to be like, oh, so last video said this, so we'll skip this part. So part was a little tricky to balance, right? Making sure I was still making it evergreen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's one of the first videos that sort of popped off because it's a guide. But the reason why it seems like I've been doing it for 20 years, because like I used to do League of Legends videos a long time ago. So I have like a history of content creation. I was actually much bigger in League of Legends than I am currently in old school RuneScape. So I guess I have that background, and I just decided to jump back into it using the same channel, which is sort of a mistake, but yeah, I've kind of landed on doing it and carrying it through.
Well, I appreciate the new videos, because I think something I've become really annoyed with in the content creation community is everybody's got to get a day one guide out.
Yeah, the day ones, yeah.
And then you go back and you're trying to learn something, and people are like, I did this with Yama, where I was like, okay, has it been updated? And I couldn't find anything that wasn't, it was like 4 months after Yama came out, and every single video said 4 months ago. And I was like, there was nothing from the past month that's like, okay, this is the meta now and stuff. It was just like, yeah, we're going in and we're shooting with Mage, and this is pretty cool. And that didn't really help me much.
Day one guides are tough, man. I don't really try to do day one guides at all. I'm usually like pretty late to getting a video out, but it's usually because I spend 3, 4, 5 days doing the new activity before feeling like things have more or less been discovered. Yeah. So in terms of like velocity, it's not the greatest thing, but then at least I end up with a video that generally is accurate. But it's tough because obviously it's such a big part of the game, getting a video out quickly. But then you end up with like my favorite video of all time when it comes to day one guides was framed video, and he did one on Chambers as Eric. And he was doing like the Ohm. He's like, for Ohm, blah, 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 right? And my favorite moment was just like, it's still there, by the way, if you go find it. He's just like, yeah, so like when it burns, when you get burned, it's going to say burn with me. So what that means is you want to get close to everybody. You want to like, so you're spreading the burn, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that's literally the opposite of what you need to do.
That's awesome.
But it's so funny because that's like the type of day one stuff that you get, right? I love that video so much. I'm sure it gets like 0 views because it's so old, but I just remember like finding it a long time ago. Not even that long ago, maybe like 4 years ago, and just laughing because of the day one kind of strategies are usually pretty wrong.
That's awesome. Yeah, if I had to recommend one of your videos, and I have recommended to a bunch of people, your videos on all the Slayer updates are like my Bible now. They're so helpful. This skip. I never did any tutorial skipping on my main for Slayer. I just did straight up, Duradel at the time, all the way pretty much. And so I tried that on my Iron, and it was a whole new world for me. And that was right when all those changes happened and those videos. So if you're not familiar with Travag, go check out that. He has a video that's I think it's 3 separate videos of all the different ways to use Slayer Masters post the changes, which were part of the summer sweep up from last year's Winter Summit, which segues us into our main topic for today. In about a week, 9 days from the day of our recording this, we're having the 2026 Winter Summit, which, if you're not aware, is, something Jagex does every year, where, I always see it as, I was a big Apple fanboy back in the day, and I would sit down with like popcorn and watch the keynotes back when Steve Jobs was still alive. And so I get that same feeling from the Winter Summits, where it's just, they come out and they tell you all this exciting stuff that's coming out, and you get super hyped for it. And the crazy thing, I can't get over this, and I'm going to keep saying this. The crazy thing about 2025 is they actually delivered, and like 99% of it was awesome. And I mean, Jagex has just been on this roll recently. It's unbelievable to me. You know, for me, 2025 was the year that I just kept saying, well, if this is so good and well designed, then sailing is going to get pushed back. And I kept saying that with Yama, you know, every update that came out, all that Varlamore stuff. And then sailing did come out and it wasn't terrible, which was just blew my mind. And, you know, so going into 2026, I'm like, okay, they're not going to get me again. Like if they say that this is coming out, I'm going to believe it. It's not, you know, we're not in 2017 anymore where stuff just keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. They're crushing expectations and somehow crushing it on quality as well. So I'm very excited because I feel like the things that they show are actually going to happen and actually going to be good and meaningful to the game, which hasn't always been the case for RuneScape. So yeah, the Winter Summit, you know, they have this big event. They do all these big announcements, and sometimes you get Modash playing a violin, which is probably the greatest Winter Summit moment of all time. But yeah, so we're here today to talk about what the potential releases are. You know, some of them have already been announced and we know they're coming, and hopefully the Winter Summit will be getting more details on that. And some of this is just going to be speculation, things that we hope to see. And, you know, some of it might be like hints or things that will be in the Summer Summit later on in the year. It's kind of hard to say, you know, it's just speculation. But that's what we like to do around here because we get excited about the game. So getting into the summit itself, the announcements that might come out, the first thing we have is something that they're probably going to like talk about a little bit, which is a little silly because it's happening like a week after the summit, but we have Deadman Annihilation. So Deadman mode is, you know, basically a temporary game mode where it's RuneScape, but everything is PvP. Anybody can kill anybody, and you're trying to, you know, accomplish things while not dying. You can see from the way I'm describing it how into Deadman I am. And so there's kind of a funny story around this. So we, in our clan, we announced our bingo during Deadman because we're not a super high PvP, you know, type of community in our clan. So I said, you know, it's probably not a big deal. Nobody really does Deadman. And if they do, you know, it doesn't completely overlap with our bingo, so they can do whatever they want to do. And we had this big pushback from our community saying that you can't do bingo during Deadman. I'm taking part in it. And what kind of became apparent was that some people care about Deadman mode, but the majority of people were saying, I don't care about Deadman mode, but I'm taking a part in this one because there's one of the rewards is a recolor for the crystal armor that is so cool looking that it's gotten tons and tons of people into wanting to do the Deadman mode, including me. And so we ended up having to push our bingo back a couple weeks. But Travag, do you do Deadman mode at all? Are you excited for it?
I am excited for it. I don't typically do Deadman. I'm not even sure why. It probably is just the PvP aspect of it.
Yeah.
But my appetite has grown over time. And I think with the new changes with the keys, especially, I probably will. Because I don't feel like I need to have like a mule or anything like that. I could just go in and have fun. And Deadman a lot of times has been... it's like the tournament of it, and a lot of times the tournament gets a little botched, but like I don't really care about the tournament. I know I'm not going to get anywhere competitively with Deadman. I just want to have fun, right? Mm-hmm. So it feels like this Deadman, this is the year where it kind of looks like it could be very fun, and the Bofa kit is definitely like probably the coolest reward I've seen come from Deadman. I don't know how it looks in game yet, but that's true. Also why I'm playing it. Those two reasons, in my opinion, are just going to drive so many PVMers to at least try it out. Who knows though? It might only take you like a couple days to get enough points. Like
I hope so.
We might just see a drop off for people who are more just to get that, and I think that's okay. But people might stick around for longer. So yeah.
Is Deadman like leagues where you can get previous Deadman rewards as well?
I don't know.
Because I remember,
I'm not sure.
There's that Voidwaker reskin that's really cool too. So if that was available as well, I would definitely push for that. Yeah, it's
It
been.
looks like you might be able to. There's a dead man person in Lumbridge. And there's like a couple rewards from Armageddon there. I assume we're going to get points to be able, it's just going to expand the store. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I guess if I do get enough, I might consider doing that too.
Sweet. So yeah, that's Dead Man. Like I said, I mean, I assume they're going to talk about it at the summit, even though it is like a week after the summit, but they've done that before. But not, in my opinion, not the super most exciting thing in the world.
I think they're just going to try to hype it up from a standpoint of like less of a reveal and more of like, especially near the end of Summit, they might bring it again.
Yeah.
Being like this Wednesday, take part, because Summit is like Sunday, right? And then Friday is Dead Man. So it's going to be, I think it's just going to be peppered in there of like jump into Dead Man later this week. It's like I think it being so close to is another reason why we might see a good turnout, because there's going to be a lot of people watching the summit. And I think they're really going to pitch it as like, if you've never tried it, definitely try it this time. So I do think it's going to get like record numbers.
Yeah.
And I'm curious also to see like the couple of like the WoW streamers who've never done a Dead Man, like Sardarko and stuff like that, see if they jump into it and have some fun with it. Or maybe some of the ones that have moved to other games might come back and give it a try.
It seems like everything that they've been doing in the past year has been hitting record numbers, which is really cool to see. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, which I will admit I'm much more excited for, is our new quest, Blood Moon Rises, which is I'm assuming finale of the Mauritania quest line, the Draken Vampirum storyline. This is going to be I'm assuming this is a master level or a grandmaster level quest, which is kind of,
yeah, it is.
I feel like that's the first time we're ever going to have a grandmaster quest that's a sequel to another grandmaster quest. But
are they both? Oh,
is Sins of the Father?
I thought Sins of the Father was master.
Is it? I might be wrong on that.
But you could be right. Sins of the Father is a master quest.
Oh, okay. Well, then, all right.
But it's not. But to your point, though, just because this is a Grandmaster quest doesn't mean that we won't potentially get another Grandmaster quest. An example of that is Desert Treasure 2 is a Grandmaster quest, and then Well Gothic Sleep is also Grandmaster, which is kind of wild that Well Gothic Sleep is a Grandmaster, but it is, and those are right after each other. So we might potentially get more Grandmasters in the future in the vampire story, or at least vampire universe, rather. Yeah.
That is crazy to me because, I did them at very different points in my account, but I think the final Sins of the Father fight is 100 times harder than the final Wild Gothic Sleeps fight. But
yeah, I think so too. And like Sins of the Father is like just such I think that's one of the best quests that they've added. I think Wild Gothic Sleep, it's probably because it's like a backdated quest, right? Yeah. Like it already existed and was already categorized as Grandmaster. But like by future standards, Sins of the Father came out in 2020 and it was master. But that boss fight is incredible. I think it's so good. I did it at like the perfect time where it was like I was an Iron Man and it was difficult and I needed to make like tuna potatoes to have the most HP. And because it is one of those fights where if you do take on at like a slightly lower combat level, it's pretty hard. Like you have to kind of get lucky, and it took me a couple attempts, but I thought it was a great fight, and it gets me so excited. I feel like the Blood Moon Rises boss fight is going to be so good because the Sins of the Father's boss fight was so good. You can't have it be less than that. And they've been killing quest bosses recently. Like some of the quest bosses we got has been the one with Varlamore, the one for the Doom to unlock Doom.
Final Dawn, right?
Yeah, the Final Dawn. Like some of those fights were so cool, and it's such a shame that we don't get to do them again. Yeah, because they're so fun. They had some unique mechanics that I'm hoping we see in future bosses. And Blood Moon Rises is an example where I think we're going to get like some really awesome fights during the quest.
Yeah, that final part of Sins of the Father, I did that when I did it on my main. I was very bad at PVM, and when I did it on my iron, it was a cool moment of kind of seeing how far I've come in this game, because that final part where all the lightning's going around, it was like that was so hard and so scary to me on my main. But this time around, I was like, oh, this is just like Toa, like the final, the final phase of Wardens, and I felt so much more comfortable doing it. But yeah, so Blood Moon Rises is going to be a continuation of that story. And I was Googling, or I was on the wiki right before this, looking up, it says that the reward for the quest is to unlock Vampirum. And I actually watched your video about, your Winter Summit video, and you mentioned like, this is a whole other, like, I don't know, planet or plane of, existence, reality. You know, like it seemed like this is a whole other world that these vampires come from.
Yeah, apparently it is. It's sort of like Xanaris being a moon, right? Like it's just a completely different world, which is wild. So it's going to be some sort of portal that we have to use or whatever to get there. But I'm excited, man. It kind of reminds me. This quest kind of reminds me a little bit of Song of the Elves, right?
Yeah,
Where it's going to be the Grandmaster quest, and then at the end you're going to have this area, and who knows what they're going to pitch us, right? There's going to be what skilling activities, what bosses, what rewards. Most of it's going to come post quest, right? We're not in the era where you're getting your rewards completing the quest. It's more like you're unlocking the content that will get you those rewards by completing the quest, right? Which I'm a fan of, right? So there could be some very powerful rewards, right? Like BOFA level rewards that will come post content, post quest on Vampirium.
Yeah, and once again, a year ago I would have said, oh, you know, it'll probably be like a couple rooms or something. But we will get a whole other planet. I mean, it's who knows. I've been tempted in the past to do an episode that's just all about priftiness because there's so much there. And just so many little things and so many things that you can do of every different type of skill and priftiness. And yeah, if we got that kind of level reward with just something around every corner that is useful, that would be really cool. As far as the rewards from the quest, access to Vampirium, you know, obviously people are wondering, well, what's in Vampirium? What can you do there? You know, I guess just to kind of list off some things that, you know, have been floating throughout the community. The big thing people have said is an alternate way to get blood shards or just a Slayer only vampire area or something. I know there was some kind of blood jelly thing in a game jam that was like I think you're getting pieces of blood shards and building up to that. It was like an AFK thing. I don't know. Where do you land on having an alternate source of blood shards from this quest?
I think an alternate source of blood shards would make sense. Yeah, like some sort of scaling activity or boss that comes after. I was actually just thinking because we use Prif as an example. Like imagine just like Prif, Vampirium, you can do all these scaling activities, all these things, and they give you like in Prif you can get crystal shards doing pretty much anything. You can mine, you can thieve, you can cut a tree, you can do the agility laps, and you're always getting a little bit of crystal shards. Like what if we had something? What if Vampirium was always giving you some sort of blood shale or something like that? And when you have a certain amount of them, you can combine to make a blood shard, right? So it's not so much like here's a boss that drops blood shards and more like here's all this content. And as you're engaging with it, just like getting crystal shards, just like getting blood bone shards, as you're engaging with it, you build up enough of a stack that you can then do something to turn it into like a shard. I think that could be or charge a shard. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, could be a cool idea. Or maybe the shards themselves are just like individual charges, right? So a blood shard is 10,000 charges. Why not just have these shards represent one charge each or 10 shards each? And then you could just like, instead of getting one thing that gives you 10,000, you could spend an hour skilling and maybe get 1,000 charges, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Like maybe they could pepper that in Vampirium. Right, with all the activities you can do. I think that would be a cool route to go. And that was right off the dome. I wish I brought that up in the video. That would have been a pretty cool idea.
Oh man, you got to make another updated video.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. Cause like I think so. We know this quest is coming, right? But I feel like the Winter Summit, a lot of it's going to be like, here's this quest, you'll take on this, blah, blah, and hopefully they'll spend this time talking about Vampirium and what they've got pitched for Vampirium. Because we have to vote too, right? So we have to vote relatively soon. So I suspect that we'll get that basically poll blog released during the summit, but we'll see what activities and bosses and all that come with the planet.
What do you think about two of the other Mauritania content pieces that some people would like to see updates or upgrades for? Do you see any kind of update or upgrade for Barrows or Nightmare coming from this quest?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think we'll see an update to Barrows. That's not on my list. And Nightmare, like specifically Nightmare, I don't think so. I think there's a chance we get a stab-based armor set from something.
Yeah.
In this area. So Nightmare adjacent in that sense. But,
okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You know, like a different, the last kind of melee armor set. But yeah, I don't think we'll see direct upgrades. Because I guess like also... Like, what problem are we trying to solve with that as well? Like, the blood shard thing comes first and foremost because people have identified that there's a problem. But I don't know if, like, upgrading Barrows, for instance, is, like, a problem that we're trying to solve. Barrow, I don't know. What do you think? Is that something you've noodled around with? Like
I don't know. Barrows is it's just in a weird place because Moon's armor is pretty much superior in every way. I mean, obviously, for the most, like, from an Iron Man perspective, obviously you want Barrows to go to Moon's.
Yeah.
But I found myself kind of trying to skip as much Barrows as possible on my Iron to get to Moon's. And when you got the Moon's armor, it wasn't as. But it's a hard thing. I mean, Barrows is such a classic. I would hate for it to just kind of fall under the wayside of not being relevant anymore. And it still definitely has its uses. I mean, it's still great mid-game tank armor, and that still has its uses. And maybe the solution for that is more in, a more defense reworks, like a lot of people have talked about, and maybe that's where it comes from. But, I think whenever people see reward space, that conversation comes up of like, okay, well, we're very accustomed to breakdown scape. We're very accustomed to upgrade scape. So, people kind of start looking around the area that the quest takes place in and saying like, okay, well, what could this be used to upgrade? What could this be used to break down and keep making old content relevant? But I don't really see either of those things either coming from this. I think they're honestly not to be so pro Jagex, but they've been impressing me with their rewards as well. I think they'll come up with something more interesting. One other thing I have here that I have thought about for Blood Moon Rises. Well, first, one small thing, which I feel like kind of goes without saying. I feel like once you complete the quest, it'll be kind of a Monkey Madness 2 thing where they're not all just going to try to kill you when you're walking around. And maybe you have some kind of, I don't know, cursed artifact or something that you can put on to make them aggro if you want to, obviously for AFKing Vires or whatever. So I feel like that's going to be a part of it. But I had this idea for a kind of managing miscellanea-esque thing, because you're taking down the leader, the ruler of this area. And it would be interesting if once he's deposed and either new rulership takes over or maybe our character takes over, I don't know, we have some kind of managing miscellanea from the Mauritania area that could offer resources that are unique to that area, like Mortmire fungus or something. And that would be kind of interesting. Our character is just slowly taking over the world. They got their own kingdom, and then they get another kingdom, and the game ends with you just ruling all of Gielinor. But that was kind of a probably very unlikely reward idea I had. But that was the only blood shard thing I had come up with.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe something like that. God, I really don't know. I don't think Darkmire will change. I feel like it'll be the same in terms of like aggro and whatnot.
You don't think you think they'll still be aggressive everywhere you go?
On Darkmire, I think so. Yeah. Right. Cause I don't know though. I'm not 100% sure. It feels like that could still be the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, cause I don't know what the implications of taking down this guy, like what it absolutely means. Like, is it going to mean as large as like it's going to impact all the areas and the way you're perceived? Or is it more like, you took down this guy, okay, this person will take over, or maybe there's an ambiguous ending. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not too tied into the lore to know 100%. Yeah, also, I'm pretty sure, like, the planet, too, has a bunch of those, like, non-vampire things happening as well. Like, there's going to be the, what's that? Oh, my God, Zarpus-type creatures are going to be on Vampirium, potentially. Ooh. Those, like, bats and Nilicus as well on Vampirium. Like, that's where they come from.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I don't know what to expect when we get there. Like maybe there'll be like Slayer creatures potentially. Yeah, I don't know. Like I really don't know what to expect in that area. But I just expect a couple new creatures and some activities. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, I'm really excited for it. I think that we're gonna get some cool rewards, and it probably goes without saying some kind of repeatable boss, if not multiple like mid-tier repeatable bosses or Slayer creatures of some sort. So. Yeah. Blood Moon Rises. I mean, they said early 2026. Hopefully we get a date. I would assume we will get an official date. And like you said, day of the summit, have a blog that we can look through to begin the battle with Jagex to get the rewards exactly perfect. 55 monkey videos and all kinds of, But, hey, I mean, that's this game, and it is a good thing. It's better than if it wasn't that way. So moving on, I think, one of the big things that people are expecting from 2026, maybe not necessarily the summit itself, is, you know, just more sailing content. Obviously, we have sailing was this huge thing, and it, you know, overall sailing has been very well received. It has been knocked it out of the park in a lot of people's opinions. But, you know, for a lot of the exploration and the islands you go to, they kind of feel like placeholders in a sense. You know, obviously some of them are much more fleshed out, but there's some of them that are just kind of like, yeah, there's some trees you can cut here. And so I think a lot of people are hoping for a, you know, content update of some sort to sailing. And in tangent with that, obviously some quality of life updates for sailing, most notably the combat, which a lot of people, the ship combat that people have had problems with. But if there was a kind of, you know, how they have their little posters or icons in the summit, what would you think we'll see from sailing announced at the summit?
So sailing's in a weird place right now in terms of like dedicating something to summit, because they've already said they got to rework combat a bit. And I'm not sure if the rework is like a large rework or if it's like a smaller tweaks. I think they could go either direction. I think small tweaks, you could make it feel a lot better. But if they want to change the whole system, then it'll take some time. So, but I don't know if they'll pitch that as like a summit icon, like some, you know, combat rework. Cause it's kind of just feels like they're fixing something that's broke, like new and broken. So in terms of what I could see them put on a panel, I'm thinking that even with the combat rework, that still by the end of the year, we'll get our first sailing expansion. And I think it might be called that, like sailing expansion, which will encompass potentially a new area and a small scale boss. But I just don't know how comfortable they feel with the combat, like with their new approach to combat. Because it's hard to design a boss until you know the combat system, which I currently don't. So yeah, it's kind of in a weird place right now. They'll definitely mention the new quest, potentially, right? The Red Reef quest that's coming as like a mini thing in there, like one of the smaller buckets. And then, maybe an expansion near the end of the year. Yeah. Because the original plan was that, right? Was to get a small scale boss, was to get sea expansion. There was maybe one or two other things mentioned in like a email I got once, right? But I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So that's what I'm expecting. What about you?
So I was kind of looking at some of the different blogs and stuff they've released, and I am curious about this island of Tempestus that is currently inaccessible. And I was looking at what they've said about it, and I saw there's some stuff with the like wind giants or something that seemed kind of cool. And the thing that really got me interested was this College of Bards that they have there, which, I mean, who knows what that means? You know, when we don't have anything like that in RuneScape as it stands, as much as we would like a charisma skill and, you know, roll for persuasion to not have to fight the boss kind of a thing in RuneScape. But I was thinking it would be kind of interesting if the College of Bards was kind of a Mahogany Homes-esque minigame where you would go around Gielinor, like playing music in different cities. And depending on which of the I guess, factions or the schools of the colleges you went to, you could get different types of XP. Like maybe, you know, it's kind of like a circus type thing. So maybe you go, you know, you get in with the more jester type people and you're going to cities and playing music and dancing around and getting agility XP, or you're going to cities with some more shady musicians and they're distracting people while you can thieve them in the background, or you get the worship band you go around with and you get prayer XP for it. But that was, I saw that on the Tempestus thing, which is currently just this inaccessible island. And I saw the College of Bards and I was like, man, that would be, there's so many different ways a College of Bards in this game could go. And that was like my first thought for it. But I would love to see what that looks like. That just sounds like such a fun, like, you know, a lot of my things I love in RuneScape is seeing more and more of the stuff I love from D&D come into it. And so a College of Bards is straight out of D&D, and I'm super excited if that were to be something they added into the game.
That would be kind of cool, yeah. And you can kind of take a little bit of inspiration potentially from, you know, Shazian, the gangster meetings, where you have to like, where they're timed, and then in the world themselves, there's like that happening. You could have that with like the college, right? Where it's like, you know, like in Falador or in Varrock, like it's not always there, but there are those like timed events, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like Shooting Stars as well, I suppose, right? Where these things are happening, this like music festival, whatever, and then there's a little bit of a skilling activity there. Maybe something like that could be kind of cool. Yeah, I think it could breathe a little bit of life into the worlds as well. I think it'd be cool for players who have no idea what that is to like walk past Varrock and had maybe gone by it like 50 times already, but then see something completely new and be like, what the heck is this?
Yeah,
right?
it'd be, I mean, kind of the same feeling of seeing people sailing by, you know, just walking through Varrock and seeing a bunch of people playing music and somebody going around the back pickpocketing them while people are watching.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah. I still want to see new players' reactions to sailing, being like, wait, what? Like players who are somewhat familiar with maybe RuneScape, but
like people who played back in the day and they come in and like, wait, what?
Like there's boats now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think was it Tempestus? Yeah. Tempestus, yeah. That could definitely end up being a reveal, and yeah, it could be tied to sailing, you know, as like a part of the expansion. That area of the map, right, like is an area that's kind of, it's, so right now the areas you can't go in the water, right, are like the four corners basically and like the entire right side. But near that area, it's kind of just a little block they could definitely make accessible before the corners, right? I expect the corners to basically never, like years will pass before those become accessible. But yeah, that's one area I think a lot of people are thinking could be a reveal. Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to announce a sailing boss that you fight with your boat because combat is still so like,
I know,
it changes. But I could see announcing a boss that you have to sail to. That's a normal PvM encounter. Although maybe they are still hesitant with that because of, you know, the hardened sailing haters. You know, even if you needed 50 sailing to get to it, they would still get a lot of backlash from the never sailing community.
I'm on the fence with the boss because like I think one of the reasons why combat needs to be fixed, but I think one of the reasons why it doesn't feel good right now is because we don't actually have anything to fight that has any mechanics. I think when you add mechanics in, like Rosie RS did the video with the Leviathan, for example, right? Like you could, once the boss has mechanics where you have to move, you have to dodge, whatever, then you're like, this is what combat is. But we don't have that right now. So everything we're dealing with right now is like just standing still and optimizing the cannon, whatever. So it's hard, like in a sense where even though they're reworking combat now, it kind of like, it's not getting an absolute fair assessment because we don't have any combat. It'd be like coming into RuneScape and like hitting a goblin, hitting a cow, and being like, is that the combat system in RuneScape?
Yeah,
wow, this sucks. Like it'd be like that. Well, it's like, well, you haven't done Scurious, you haven't done raids, like you haven't actually. It's a simple layer, which is intentional. The mechanic itself is supposed to be simple, but the complexity comes from how you engage with things in the world. And we just don't have that with sailing yet. So as much as I think that they need to tweak, I think that combat could actually probably, the path they could go is actually make smaller tweaks, like to damage calculation, to make it so that you're not like, I was just thinking the other day, like this whole like toggling left, right cannon thing where you have to position, can it just be set where like basically only one cannon is going to work at any given time? Right? That way you don't have to try to aim for two. You just get one going and you're kind of more or less, you're maximizing, but then rework everything else, make it deal more damage, make it do whatever. Right. Anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hopeful they still mention it, but I think you're right that it might be something more for the summer summit.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's just like, okay, by then we have the new combat system kind of figured out, or like we've, improved it, which I don't think people will be 100% happy with. Cause again, if we don't have a way to engage with a boss in a unique way, people are still going to look at it and be like, is this everything? This is boring. Right. But I think by summer summit, when we have those tweaks or those fixes, they'll probably announce something.
Yeah, or it could be, something, I mean, like Blood Moon Rises, where they announce that it's coming, and then Summer Summit is where they give us an official date and they give it, more detail, and it could just be more of a teaser in this one. So if you're reaching into the catalog of fantasy sea creatures and all of your RuneScape knowledge as well, and you got to pick, what kind of creature would we be seeing as a boss?
Oh man, yeah. Gosh, it's so I go to Kraken right away, which is so vanilla. I just think it probably works pretty well.
Yeah.
Let me think of sea creatures, like mythical sea creatures.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly, it could also be like, as weird as it is, it could also be like a dragon, like that's not even in the water. Kind of like when you go to Crandor.
Yeah. Just see the shadow above you.
Above you. Yeah. But no, I'm thinking maybe like a Leviathan or a Kraken would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember I was so excited when day one of DT2, and it was when you see the names of the bosses, and I saw the Leviathan, and I was imagining, more of a sea-based encounter, like a giant water creature. And I mean, maybe it's kind of an Olm type boss where, what you see is just the top of it. But I get, I don't know what's underneath that island, but I was hoping for this giant, Cthulhu-esque sea creature. So yeah.
Well, have you done sailing with like 117 turned on and stuff at all?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. So what's interesting is like when you turn on 117, you see the rest of the creature. So like the shark where you only see the fin, or like the Kraken where you can't, like you actually see the rest of it. So like they designed the model. It's
interesting.
Just like, and it moves and it's animated and everything. It's just the texture of the water doesn't allow you to see it. But when you have that texture pack on from 117, you do. So whatever boss they release, however large it is, you might only see, like you said, a little bit of it, like kind of like Leviathan, right?
Yeah.
But when you actually turn on that client, I'd be very curious to see what they actually have underneath it. Yeah, so that's a weird thing. I think whatever creature they choose to needs to be something that feels like it. I feel like the boss is gonna. A lot of the mechanics of the boss is gonna be mechanics outside of the boss, like sort of like storm elements.
Yeah.
So almost like Temporos, right? Where it's like you have Temporos, but then it's like he's throwing out lightning strikes, stuff like that. Wave mechanic. It's gonna be more like that. You'll have the boss, and it'll have like its auto attacks and stuff like that. But generally speaking, the mechanics are gonna feel like they're coming from elsewhere through like some power that the creature has.
Yeah. Well, you talk about how that's super interesting that they designed the full model of these creatures in the water, even though on the standard client you aren't able to see them. But that leads into kind of our next possible announcement, which is the game engine or player support updates. We get these kind of every summit. I think the big one that they keep bringing up that is definitely coming soon is the big HD rework, I guess. I don't know, HD mode, HD rework, I don't know, however they're presenting that. And I mean, honestly, most of this stuff is not super worth talking about, I guess. They have an HD mode coming. They're probably going to give us some kind of player support update where, they're going to say, hey, we banned 10 billion bots. They just keep coming back, and we're trying our best, and we're improving. I don't know. Do you see any kind of announcement that you're hoping for, or what you think they're going to do from a game engine or player support standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll give a date for the HD client potentially. Like, I think they have to be getting to the point where they're ready to actually release it.
They've been talking about it for a while.
They have, yeah. So I suspect that. In terms of what I'm looking forward to for game engine, I don't know if there's anything specifically that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, player support updates. I'm probably in the minority here. I'm not like crazy. We need better player support. XX, like I think most people are. I think player support is very difficult to like in any capacity for it to be a positive experience. You're inherently going to player support when you're going through something like negative with your account. So it's like you're already dealing with that kind of weight, and then you add on top of it the time to get resolution and everything like that. It's very difficult, even if they make improvements, which they've stated they have. It's never an area that I've ever super indexed hard in that I want improvements of. I'm just like, here's my account. I got my 2-factor on. I'm not doing anything shady. Like, God willing, everything will be great. And I won't have to deal with player support, right? Mitigation, right? I'm trying to mitigate the need for it more than anything.
Sure.
I also don't think it'll be a huge talking point because it's not really like super sexy, we're at a summit, right? Like we're trying to get those reveals that are kind of exciting. And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe this is exciting for a lot of players.
I feel like usually what they do is they just have like one sentence that's like, our player support is the best it's ever been and it's getting better. That's the sexy way of saying it. But yeah, the only thing that I really ever am interested in when they talk about the game engine or, you know, kind of vanilla client updates are mobile, because that's the only way that most of us interface with the vanilla client. And, you know, I would love to see just more on mobile. I'm not like we need like a plugin hub on mobile. I think that is what they're intending to do. I think it can get overwhelming very quickly on mobile. You have such a limited screen space. And I do think what they've done with mobile is already incredible. You know, some small things. I think one mobile specific thing I would love to see them do is have a way to lock your screen, like your camera, because, you know, it's just inherently a part of mobile that if you sometimes you try to tap something and it rotates your camera. And if you're doing these very repetitive AFK grinds, like I'm doing Karambwans, and I'll set up my camera so it's like, okay, when I teleport, the chest is still on my screen, and then I hit the fairy ring, and then the Karambwan spot is, you know, you kind of zoom into the right spot. And it would be cool if I could lock my camera in place temporarily so that I can not have to worry about accidentally bumping it and having to kind of get my screen exactly how I like it. So little small things like that, some kind of idle notifier on mobile, you know, just little stuff. But I feel like they're probably going to roll all of that into a full, you know, plug-in hub of sorts, like they have kind of teasing for the past year or so.
Yeah. Also, like, this would be so silly. Give like with the API updates that they might be doing, would it be weird to get push notifications for certain things? They on mobile.
Have you ever gotten one?
I've gotten some, but I'm talking like I've gotten like a few.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a new update or whatever, or hey, whatever. I'm talking like your birdhouse is ready.
Oh yeah. No,
you know,
I feel like there was
my birdhouse.
There was a week there where I was getting push notifications that you're about to log out from idling too long. And
okay.
Yeah, it was weird. It was out of nowhere, and then I've had like 2 or 3 of them in like a week, and I never got it since. So I don't know if that was an experiment that failed, or I don't know. It seems like when they talk about it, it seems like they're always fighting, whether it's the iPhone, you know, software or just mobile software in general or stuff. But no, I mean that would be that'd be
incredible. I think we got such a good mobile client, all things considered.
I know.
It's so good. And they added that 30-minute, you can go 30 minutes now without logging out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good.
It's so nice. It gives me 25 extra minutes to lose battery when I forget that I'm logged in. Yeah, I think the game engine stuff, it's probably just going to be HD and maybe, you know, one sentence of we're doing great.
Do you think they'll continue the API stuff that they
I hope so. I mean,
talked about last time?
I don't think they've announced that they're pausing anything, so I think last
those were
time
combined together, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe an actual date on all of that. It would be probably best case scenario, and that would make sense. I mean, they've been talking about it for so long. I could definitely see them saying it's right here. It's coming in March or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to what has always been my favorite part of the summits, or I guess the Winter Summit now. And I think they've only done one of calling it this, but the Summer Sweep Up is my favorite thing. I love nothing more in this game than them going to old content, adding quality of life. And what we saw last year it blew my mind. You know, I mentioned earlier your videos about the Slayer changes that we got. You know, that was something I just thought the Slayer changes were so elegant in the sense of there was all of these different problems and they came up with one solution that fixed like 10 different problems at once. And I thought that was so smart, how having, you know, different block lists for different Slayer masters. And yeah, I feel like I have 50 things that I want to be kind of the main line of the summer sweep up. But if I had to narrow it down to 3, and my number 1 is only because this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm kind of historically have said fishing is my least favorite skill in the game. I would love to see a summer sweep up on fishing, some miscellaneous changes to just the way that different different type of fish catching work. But I won't go off on a whole tangent about that. The second thing was actually inspired by me watching your video, which was the idea that we have Raids 4 coming up, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. So the summer sweep up before Raids 4 would be a perfect time to look at the current mega rares and all rewards from our raids and make sure they're in a good place before going into a new raid with a new mega rare, presumably. So I'll leave it at those two, but what are you looking forward to most from a summer sweep up? What are you hoping that they kind of focus on?
Well, probably the main one would be that what you just described, going and making some changes to the previous raids. Mm-hmm. Most notably, Chambers of Zarek. I think Chambers of Zarek has the most room for improvement. Most of it probably related to the drop table. Like, I think the prayer scrolls are very, very common. It's already takes longer to get a purple from there than other raids. So, yeah, I'd adjust that, ahead of Raids 4. I also, don't know if you adjust that, do you have to maybe do something with mega scales? Because mega scales are kind of, I think maybe they're apprehensive to make changes because mega scales were, really good. Did they make changes to mega scales? You could still do that, right? Where you just, do it and guarantee a purple every whatever hours and people pay for services for that. Yeah, right?
I know there was a day when it was on the other changes of one of their updates. And I know everybody in our clan was saying oh, they aren't working anymore. And I don't know. I don't know if they found a workaround for it because I feel like they came back, but I know they're not nearly as powerful as they used to be.
Yeah. I was trying to recall, but that aside, I think Chambers, is the main one. You could look at Theater of Blood in some ways too. I think the raid itself is actually really good, but some of the rewards there have really fallen out of favor, right?
Almost all of them.
Sanguinesi staff is right?
Yep.
Pretty much all of them, right? The only thing that's decent there is the Avernic and the Scythe, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe you can make some tweaks to those. Maybe the Sang staff could lean into its identity more by actually healing a little bit more consistently. Right? That
would be nice, yeah.
So what is it? A 1 in 6 chance? What is it right now? Sang staff. Let me check. Sang staff. I think it's 1 in 6 chance to heal. Where is it? Where's the effect? Here it is. 1 in 6 chance to heal for half the amount. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe you do a 1 in 3 chance to heal for 25%. Mm-hmm. Right. So just to make it a little bit more consistent, it's actually not buffing the healing at all. Right. But it's just making it more consistent. You could even do by that token, you could do a 1 in 2 chance, whatever. But I think a 1 in 3 for that would be a great change for the Sang. I think making the Sang cost less to use. It's 3 blood runes currently. Right. Maybe it costs 2. Maybe it's something else involved with it. Maybe by the time Vampirium comes along, there's some sort of resource that can be used for the Sang. That would be part of more Vampirium update, I suppose. But so that would be good for Chambers. I think TOA is more or less fine. The changes they made last summer sweep up made TOA a lot better, obviously. That was such a good change.
Yeah, so, the puzzle rooms are still in it, but we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, the puzzle rooms are still there. So yeah, that's probably the main focus in terms of raids. And then other sweep up changes. I don't know. I was thinking skilling, right? Skilling wise, maybe some stuff related to smithing, but that's kind of hard.
Smithing is so hard. It's the one skill I think is too far gone. I think they would have to completely start from the beginning, and then that would feel like a betrayal of the old school. I don't know I don't know where to go with skill or with smithing. It's so. Yeah, it's just a weird one. It's a really weird one that it takes 99 to make a rune plate body, which is something you never even really wear in general anymore.
Yeah, I think that requires a full rework, which is probably its own project. So probably not that. Maybe something with rune crafting they can make a little bit more attractive still. God, I love what they did with Guardians of the Rift way back with the outfit. They actually released an outfit that was good, really good. Yep. And I want more of that for skilling. But even so, a lot of people don't runecraft So I don't know. You can make some changes to that. I think the ruin pouch degrading system. I know like the cape is like its main perk is that, so it doesn't degrade. But man, it's so annoying casting the lunar spell. Oh, that was one example too, right? Like clunkiness, right? I think a lot of clunkiness can be reduced. I remember a long time ago they teased with like I think the combat achievements that the higher tier you got, the less ticks it would take to use NPC contact, right? As a reward space. That was a reward space. And it's just like, why not like just do that? Just make it better, right? Yeah. Like it's a weird that like that level of I get friction being like a positive thing, but that to me is just it's clunkiness.
Well, so, and they set a precedent for that with the agility changes last year of just taking the delay out of some of the agility shortcuts.
I think updates like that are incredible. So I would focus on getting rid of clunkiness like NPC contact. I was saying on Sebe's cast, the crystal extractor, how you have to like sit there for 4 ticks, and if you're fighting something, you really can't like grab it. Have that just be a 1 tick action. Like just click and you got it. Feels good. I don't know what else. There's probably a bunch, but if they could come with us with like we are reducing, spell clunkiness and action clunkiness, I'd be really happy with that too with the sweep up.
That would be beautiful. Okay, like I said, there's 50,000 things. The last one I want to mention, because you mentioned the runecrafting skill cape, I would love. So I am very excited for, I'm assuming, the inevitable Varlamore achievement diary. But I think in the same way that I was saying the mega rares before Raids 4, I would love to see an achievement diary and skill cape perk. I'm not even going to say rework, just a second look. My big problem with the diaries is that we've had so much content added since then. There's nothing about TOA or Temporos in the Desert Diary. And there's some very, very bad, old, useless content that are current diary tasks. So I would love for them to go through and, replace some of the stuff that people hate with some of the newer content that, because a big thing of the achievement diary for a new player is it makes you go do content. It makes you go do Barbarian Assault. And for a lot of people, they are like, hey, Barbarian Assault isn't that bad. So I would love to see kind of working in some of the newer content, and they can maybe change some stuff up. I mean, the obvious thing that everybody talks about is making the shortcut for the KQ the hard reward instead of the elite reward, because you want it for the elite reward, but little stuff like that.
I think that's a really smart idea. Yeah. Wow. I never thought about that. Just using the achievement diaries as a way to put players into content, newer content that we know is like tried and true good. That would actually be really, really solid. And I think like even as much as the easy diary, right? Like an absolute new player, to be able to like find new things through the easy diary, in the medium, like that's really cool.
So maybe.
Maybe I think that could be pitched alongside the Varlamore one 100%. We're adding the Varlamore one, and we're also going back and adjusting the other ones. And then maybe there's some implications for players who already have it complete, or maybe it's like just like sailing, like too bad. Like there might be a couple that you've done before that are no longer there, but now there might be a couple you have to do, right? But I think a lot of them will be based around like skilling stuff that maybe is already tracked, right? Like subduing Temporos, right? It's like we've already done that. I suppose the other part here is how do you manage the overlap with potentially combat achievements, right? Like Temporos being in there, for example. Like, do you just keep them both in there, or is there something specific in Temporos related to skilling, right? Yeah.
It's a weird area. I mean, it's kind of like, you have the Kebos one, you have completing a Chambers of Xeric. Like there is a weird, or the Hydra one.
And while we're at it too, like we talk about like achievement diaries, right? Right now when you complete it, it's like a message in your chat, right? Can we get like the pop-ups that we get with collection logs and achievement diaries where it's like completed, dun, 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 right? Like,
like a little icon and stuff.
Yeah, like the box that shows up when you get like when you complete. Like I think I love that. I love stuff like that, and I think for new players too, when you see that, it's like, oh, what did I complete? They might discover the achievement diaries through that, because it's like, oh, I just mined this in this area. This pop up happened. What is this, right?
Yeah.
So that would be great. I guess just looking at the combat achievement thing right now, maybe they find a way to make it a little bit more. One thing that's hard is like I don't like how to check the tasks that you've completed. Like it's like the crossed off stuff. Maybe that could be reworked to look more like combat tasks, right? Where it's like this nice interface that you can have like filters for and stuff like that. So, wow, you just came up with a whole project.
Get on it, Jack.
That's really good.
All right, let's move on to the thing that everybody cares about, the thing that everybody's been waiting for, Raids 4. You know, we had just a little tease of it, and there's been a couple more teases in the official Jagex podcast, and I think it goes without saying in most people's mind that there is going to be some kind of announcement about Raids 4, whether it's just a tease as to the theme, or maybe it is a full blown pitch. I think, people are expecting or hoping for Raids 4 to be sometime in late 2026. And it seems like the teams have been working on it. And we had our All About Raids 4 a few months ago, and that was a 5-hour episode. So obviously I have a lot of thoughts on Raids 4. But Travag, where are you at with Raids 4? What are you most hoping to see from this, and what do you think we will actually see?
Yeah, so I think we'll get the name of Raids 4, we'll know exactly where it is, and they'll explain like the mechanics of the raid a little bit. I don't think we'll see. I think they're gonna pitch it as like, we are gonna give you like a PVM whatever experience for Raids 4. You're gonna go in, do these bosses, etc., etc. Like they're not gonna talk about like having some sort of invocation or system like that. I don't think it'll have any weird, unique mechanics to it. I think it'll be very much pitched as like, take on these bosses, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm expecting with Raids 4. I don't think they'll mention any rewards at all during this winter summit. I don't know if they're that far along.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a couple they're thinking of because it ties into the theme of the raid, right? Like they have the area, so they're like, oh, it'd be really cool if we had this type of weapon because it fits very nicely into this theme of the raid, right? But God, I don't know if they've thought that far yet. Yeah. Right? I think they're very much still in development, like very early stages for Raids 4. So I think now it's going to be like the name of it, the theme of it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like, right? Maybe the date.
Maybe a late 2026 kind of a general date. Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we won't get the exact date yet, but we'll get the quarter, right? Like, I think it'll be like around July-ish.
Oh, that's soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe it'll be like kind of like we said earlier. Maybe it'll be one of those things where it's going to be next, like at the Summer Summit. It'll be the next big update after Summer Summit, kind of that timeline.
I think you need to release it. Like, you can't have Leagues and Raids 4 too close together. From a release standpoint, I think there needs to at least be like 7 weeks between them. So I think Leagues is likely coming out the same time it usually comes out, unless they change it up, which is near the end of the year. So I wouldn't want like the raid to be at the same time.
Yeah.
So I would expect it like a couple months before. Yeah.
And where do you land on what you want as far as the theme and setting goes?
Yeah, I'm like really in the Fremenic camp. Mm-hmm. I know some people are also in that camp. I think a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of comments on my video of people putting in a lot of RuneScape 3 stuff that I'm not personally aware of. A lot of people think what's that area on the sailing, the bottom corner?
Where it's all the crystal-y?
No, like the cursed area.
Oh.
Archipelago. The archipelagos.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of people think that they're like, oh, in RuneScape 3, there's this, and that, right? And it's like, I don't know. I honestly, I'm basing it under the assumption of like, they're not like, what do we expect as like relatively casual players of understanding the lore of things, and like just give us something that thematically fits for where we're currently at. If they jump into some like thing I've never heard of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I maybe I'm completely wrong. I think some people think the Majorat kind of story would be it'd be kind of based around that a little bit, which is also kind of northern too, right? Secrets of the North, like whatever, right? So I don't know, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
That's where I'm pulling.
Yeah.
Where are you pulling?
I really think that raids 5 will be a sailing raid. I don't think we're there quite yet. You know, man, I think they could give us some more time. And once again, going back to that chunker of a raids 4 episode we did before, I also am a Firmenich fan. I think that one of the things that I love about the raids is how they've pulled from both more Theater of Blood and Toa, where they pull from real life mythology and lore of the areas they're in. Too. And I think that the place that has the most of that would be the Firmenich area. You get all kind of Norse feeling stuff, Viking feeling stuff. And that just feels like the place where you would have a raid. And, something that came up on some podcast I was doing was the idea that any raid in any location can be a sailing raid because, you can sail to any of these areas. So they could have a sailing raid that is in the north and it still has all of that Norse feeling to it and stuff. So
I on the topic of sailing raid, are you saying sailing raid like the raid is 100% sailing, or there's aspects of sailing in the raid? What's kind of the...
I think I just mean from a thematic standpoint, you're fighting, maybe, tentacle monsters and mermaids and sharks and stuff, whatever, however that plays out, as far as if there is some sailing itself in there, or if I guess I'm thinking more just a theme of, some kind of delving into Atlantis type of raid.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Cause I don't think we'll ever get any raid fight ever on water. Like,
no, yeah.
I think we might get maybe one piece of a raid that has one aspect of you're using your boat. And I think every raid 4, 5, 6 will not involve like any form of combat.
Yeah, no, that would be weird. It would feel like doing an entire floor of Sepulchre in the middle of a raid, which for the record, I wouldn't mind. I mean, that's, but
I'm not against, like I mentioned this in my video Raids 4, like I'm not against Raids 4, whether it's in whatever area, if there's one element of sailing tied to it, like tiny part, we're talking like under a minute long, right? Where maybe you're just using your boat to get somewhere and dodging some obstacles. Like I know we talked about puzzle rooms, but this is why I'd want it to be like short and just one part, maybe at the beginning of the raid or right before the final boss. I wouldn't be opposed to that because sailing is like this new thing and it's a way to like integrate it into something else slightly. So I'd be okay with that. And I think Firmenich works pretty well with that as well. But I think there's like 15% chance they do that and an 85% chance they don't. And they just design like a classic raid experience in potentially Firmenich. Varlamore is another area a lot of people think it could be because Varlamore has gotten, it's this new area. It's got, you mentioned about drawing from history and the style, right? Like Varlamore is rich with that as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, very rich with that. Someone recently mentioned like some sort of like, maybe it's like a kind of rainforest type raid, right?
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it'd be cool if every raid that we got in this game wasn't like an indoor thing, right? Like if we had something that felt outdoors, that'd be cool, right? Because we have all three of them. You're in a cave, one you're in a castle, and the other one you're in a pyramid. Mm-hmm. And I get why, like it's a dungeon, like it's hard to design that on otherwise. But it'd be cool if they found a way to make it feel like it's an outdoor area. Maybe that is how you integrate sailing, where it's like not technically integrating sailing, but like you're on an island, which is like a thing related to sailing, and it's instanced, of course, right? But I don't know, maybe feeling outdoors for once would kind of feel nice. So like a rainforest would be cool.
They can call the unlock quest Jungle Cruise, and you get to it.
Jungle Cruise, yeah. Jumanji.
The Jumanji raid, yeah. No, that would be. I mean, there's all kinds of bosses that you can think of that would be related to jungles. I mean, I'm just seeing like the Peter Jackson King Kong movie, just all those different creatures and that kind of feeling. No, totally be on board with that.
Yeah. What do you think, like, speaking of, like, well, what type of creatures do you expect in Raids 4?
Oh,
like,
man.
obviously you're saying if it's Fremenic, that's something. If it's whatever, it's something else. But what type of boss would you like to see?
I want to see more bosses. And side note, I'm curious to know, on a scale of 100 to 200, how many times Raids 4 from the promotional materials gets compared to TOB. But I'll also do it here. I do want to see more, this is the most common thing people have said, more bosses that encourage, group movement, things that require you to act as a team. And in our Raids 4 episode, when I was kind of making up the bosses, that was a big thing of like, oh, you all have to, come at it from this direction, or you have to be in unison. So I would love to see bosses that require, different kinds of mechanics that require you to be communicating with your team. And, I think a big critique of TOA is that it is a bunch of, no matter how many people are in the raid, it is for the most part a bunch of people doing a solo raid together. And, that's a big thing that people have referred to with, the Ulm fight specifically, and TOB is just how those bosses where you have to communicate and do things together. And I think they shied away from that with TOA for the reasons that TOB has always gotten that bad reputation, because if it requires a team to be good together and you have one person that's not good, it's going to ruin it for the whole team. And that's going to not want you to bring learners in. And that's the whole thing. It's funny I'm saying this because while we're recording this, our clan is doing a TOB workshop right now, which is all about getting learners in and getting learners KCs. So shout out to the guys running that for getting people into a raid that has always been hard to get into. So I don't know if they're going to have a way to like have their cake and eat it too with that kind of, idea of bosses that require group coordination, but not making it as punishing. But, in that same breath, I think they should just make it punishing. I mean, look at what's happened with TOB. It's so many people's favorite raids, and it is the most punishing. But, as far as the type of bosses, I've always wanted a like super difficult 1x1 boss in this game. I feel like I'm trying to think of the best example of that. Like, obviously we're fighting monsters and creatures, and so they're these big, giant things, but just a dude who will absolutely destroy you. I don't know. I've always wanted something like that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of 1x1 bosses. Like, you got the Barrows brothers. Yeah.
even Vardorvis feels like it should be a 1x1, but it's not.
It's like a 2x2. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it was originally supposed to be a 3x3, by the way. Because when you're going to Vardorvis before you enter the instance, he's larger than when he is when you're in the instance. He's a 3x3 outside and he's a 2x2 inside.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that because I've done 5,500 Vardorvis KC trying to get my axe.
Yeah.
So little things you notice when you go 5 times dry on an axe piece. And I think they did that to make sure the scythe wasn't best in slot. But anyways, yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I mean, I do kind of like bosses that are like 4x4, 5x5. Just because I feel like bosses.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool to see how they implement something smaller like that. I agree that team coordination, TOB. I mean, I think TOB, one of the reasons why it's people's favorites too is because there are no puzzle rooms or anything like that. Like, take away the puzzle rooms from TOA and it might be a lot closer for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Even with what you're describing. I don't think TOA is void of team stuff. There is aspect of team stuff like, the boulders with Baba.
Yeah.
Or phase 1 of the Wardens, right, where you have to spread and get together and stuff like that. But then you have like the last phase of the Wardens where you're kind of doing your own thing more or less. I guess skulls are sort of a team thing, but it's a bit of a mix.
Yeah.
I expect Raids 4 to be closer to TOB, but in terms of like the best thing about Raids 3 is like it got people to do the raid. Like it got people into raiding. A lot of people who could do TOB now started with TOA. And I don't think Raids 4 will be as accessible as TOA. I think TOA will always be considered the accessible raid, right? So Raids 4 will feel a lot more like TOB, but I wouldn't be against them. Like, I think if TOB shipped with the entry mode it had now, when it launched, a lot more people probably would have gotten into TOB a lot quicker. Not that entry mode for TOB was particularly perfect. Like, it's not at all, but at least it's something. So I expect Raids 4 to have a version of that, like an easier version of the raid. maybe it's through a quest and then you can repeat it or something like that, right? Like it's baked into the quest.
Yeah.
So maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm on the fence because the other thing too is like when you do TOA and you're doing it on release day and you're doing it 0 invocation, like you're gonna clear it, and there's like an aspect of like, oh man, but then you kind of like spoiled the final boss in some ways, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like TOB, you're like getting to the final boss and it's just as difficult as it will basically ever be. But maybe there's a way to balance that. Like maybe if you're doing the entry mode version, the boss like only has like 2 of its phases and not like the other last 2, or it's missing some, I don't know.
I've heard some people suggest to have entry mode completely ready on release, but not release it for a couple weeks, just to have that kind of that race to the first completion. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could see it because like ultimately anyone who's doing it on the first couple weeks is like 95%, if not more percent of people doing it on release are people who've done raids before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like they're ready to go in. Right. That's a pretty good idea. Like it could be, they do that a lot, right? Where they have the tweaks after. So that could be, yeah, that's a good solution, I think. Yeah. Cause then you're not kind of spoiling that. I think it's important. I think TOB is a lot of people's favorites raids. But I do think like arguably TOA is the most important raid in the game.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Because of what it does for players and how it gets them into PVM. So, and I think you make it a boss rush, you make it more challenging, but you keep at some level people can get into it. Yeah, I don't know.
So as far as, every raid we have so far, kind of every one of them has their own little twists, like Chambers is like supposed to be kind of like a roguelike, and, we have the invocations with Toa. Do you have any thoughts for what you would like to see as kind of the twist of the design of this raid?
Yeah, I think that, going off my gut, I think the twist of the raid will be that there is no twist. It'll be just, here is a raid and we are just focused on making it as fun as possible.
Yeah.
There could be some twists in a sense where there might be some maybe gear specific to the raid that you might get, sort of like with TOA, how you have like the gems and stuff like that. Like there could be stuff like that, but I don't think there's going to be this like huge overall system where it's like either where everything is based around that system. Like in Chambers, it's like randomized, or I don't even know what would TOBs be. TOB doesn't have one, does it?
Yeah, no, if you noticed, my 2 examples were the other 2 raids, because I guess TOB is much more straightforward.
And I think that's fine. Like I think people have been wanting a raid like that for a little bit. And just imagine like what a raid could be like now that feels like TOB, but has all the development and engine capabilities that we have now, right? Like TOA's engine work is really good. Like the boss fights feel epic because of like the visual effects that you're seeing. Like when I first saw like the floor slamming and the sorry, when the floor starts to like break up at the end, like that's all engine work that we don't see in TOB that will be in raids 4.
Yeah. I think TOA gets a little bit of unnecessary hate because of, we'll just say the puzzle rooms, but there's a lot of problems with TOA, and I guess to answer the question for myself, I proposed this idea in our Raids 4 episode of essentially you getting a reward like Ambrosia, but not Ambrosia, but the kind similar to Ambrosia, something that heals you, and you can take as many of them as you want, but your purple chance is based on how many of them you have left at the end of the raid. And so it becomes this game of how many of these do I need to drink or eat or whatever. And, so you have an inventory full of healing, so you will finish the raid, and newer players can just stock up on them and blow through them and definitely survive and have a lower purple chance. But, the goal is, I don't know, maybe it's like the super hard Giga challenge mode is to do an inventory of 28 of these things without ever touching them and have like the best purple chance ever. And it kind of adds a scaling difficulty in that sense. But maybe if they are basing this off of TOB, the best result is, just kill some bosses. And I got no problem with just running and kill some bosses. That's kind of what we're here for. But yeah, so moving on to the last thing about Raids 4, the big obvious thing. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, just like one thing that I think would be an interesting, nah, this would be a bad idea. But like, if there's some level of choice, if there's some level of choice when you're doing the raid. So let's say Raids 4 comes with like, because this reminds me of Chambers, but this is a better version of it. Raids 4 comes with like, maybe there's like 9 total bosses. Mm-hmm. But whenever you like complete a boss, there's like door 1, door 2 to the next boss. And like potentially that's sort of randomized. Now obviously people are going to want, see, this is a bad idea, but I like roguelikes. So it'd be cool to have like choose between 2 things, but
it's just it's just hard in RuneScape because we're just so focused on efficiency that we're going to find what the best 100%. Path is. And it would be a shame for people to put a lot of hard work into bosses and it just be the one that people skip over. I don't know. That was kind of, because my whole thing with Raids 4 was to have a raid. I was trying to figure out a way for a raid where you can take learners in and they can have a learner experience, but different from TOB where the harder players are still doing harder things and the easier players are doing easier things. And there's kind of like a built-in hard mode. I don't know. It was this whole thing of like, and you talking about choices was kind of trying to figure that out and kind of in the sense of, chaos and life and power, which is another thing where it immediately became a meta and you were a fool if you did anything other than, taking power first and then life later kind of a thing. Yeah. I guess that's just kind of the nature of this game is where there's going to be a meta, there's going to be a TravagGames video, and then I'm going to follow it and tell everybody that that's what you do. Don't think twice, just do what I say.
Yeah, imagine Raids 4 had some sort of system in it where you can do the raid and you can bring people in, but those people who come in are like a different version of what you're going in with. So like, thematically, let's just say they're like spirits, right? Mm-hmm. And while you're like in spirit form or whatever, you can do the raid and you could do it however, but like you're not engaging with certain mechanics or you're taking less damage and dealing less damage as well. Interesting. Or something like that. So like you're kind of like you said, like you're kind of more on the easier mode, but then the other players aren't. So you could bring people in to learn the raid and then kind of take off the restraints once they've gotten comfortable. Yeah. But you're doing the same raid.
No, that's a really cool idea. Like you have some kind of protection orb or something that certain mechanics don't damage you, but there's still, you get like the TOB mistake tracker that still tells you like this would have damaged you.
Yeah. Or maybe maybe instead of damaging you, it does, but like it like stuns you. Because I think one of the problems with like really TOB, one of the problems with TOB is like the entry mode is actually really good if you respect the mechanics. Some people don't. You just like soda seg ball, tank it, whatever, right? You do, run through the maze. But if it's like, okay, you got the orb of protection on you, but like you're gonna get stunned, like a thieving stun. You're gonna take like 20 damage and then not do anything. People aren't gonna want to tank that, right? They're gonna want to learn the mechanics. So maybe they could have some version of that, and maybe it's not an entry mode, but it's an entry experience. So you can go with other players, and they could still complete the raid. They're gonna have to pull a little bit more weight. Their purple chance is gonna be way better than yours, but you're both learning. You're respecting the mechanics, and then you turn that shit off once you know how to actually do everything.
Yeah, no, I love that. And speaking of purple chances, please let's not do this. You can get the Fang and the Light Bearer on entry mode.
No, definitely not.
But speaking of purples, very quickly, because I know that it is something that can be talked about to the end of time. Rewards from Raids 4. Where are you landing on that? Maybe not even necessarily the mega rare. I know the mega rare is the big thing that everybody has questions. Yeah. But as far as the rewards in general, what do you got?
Yeah, I think one that is pretty primed that could work pretty well. It's just an armor set, because there's always an armor set in a raid, but this one being like an elemental damage armor set.
Ooh, I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, so just imagine it's just like it's almost like Virtus, but for elemental damage, and it's pretty cracked. So I don't know what the exact percentage is, but let's just say each piece adds like 10% damage and accuracy to elemental, whatever. It just makes it so that elemental weakness is slowly getting more and more viable because they've added more stuff and there's decent weapons. They're not like a mega rare great weapon yet. There's like the what's the best one? The Nightmare Staff, I suppose. It would actually make the Nightmare Staff a lot better. But it would be so that if you had this full set, it'd be pretty competitive in some cases, if not better, right, than using your traditional magic. So like Nightmare Pillars, for example, right? Like you'd probably crush with Elemental if you had this on, plus even a Twin Flame Staff or something. So I think that could be a decent armor set that just seems like it's pretty ripe for... It's not interfering with much in terms of like overstepping over anything, but it just makes it'll be better in some places, not as good in other places, etc. So that's my top bet.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I'm gonna steal that. That's my armor set idea now too. That is the best. That's the best option I've heard. You know, a lot of people say this, you know, the stab equivalent of Oathplate and Inquisitors, but that needs to come from a boss that's, you know, similar to Yama and Nightmare. You know, like those end game solo duo. You know, I don't think that
more of a Vampirian boss, in my opinion.
Exactly. I 100% agree. But that's a great idea that I haven't heard before.
Yeah, and I think you can make it fairly strong because it's a because it's a raid rare, and because it's a niche thing, right? Like it only works against certain bosses. Like you're gonna destroy certain bosses when you have it. Like I can imagine Olm, for example, Olm with the Dragon Hunter wand and this armor set. Like I'm okay with it beating Shadow, right? Because it's very, very specific, right? Yeah. So, and I think it does potentially bring Shadow down a few pegs in some cases, right? Because, Shadow's very strong. So that's probably that's the armor set I'm okay with. At the same time, if you want another type of armor set, as you said, the stab one maybe not, but we do have the different type of range weaknesses now with throw and heavy and bow. You could lean into that, right? You could make one that's specifically heavy based, right? So it's going to be really good with crossbows, but it's not going to be as good as Misori for other options or generally, right? So maybe something like that. So it'd be really good at like Nex maybe. So that's another option. I don't see why not to do the elemental one instead, but yeah, especially with Raids 1 being the last magic set we had, I think that one works. In terms of, I mean, what other options do you have like for weapons and stuff like that? Have you given it much thought, or items?
Not really. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things and it's just hard. I mean, I have always wanted just a big ass hammer like in Dark Souls to be an item in this game that's actually big, you know, not like even, you know, twice as big as an Elder Maul kind of a thing. But you know, the way the game works, you know, there's a much lower skill ceiling on slow, heavy weapons, which is why we see, you know, stuff like, and just with the tick system, it's just so hard. So I don't know where that lands. I mean, there was on my episode with Sebe, we talked about the like basically mega rare brass knuckles that were like 2-tick attack and were like a monk build and based off of your character's weight, but that also doesn't super feel like a mega rare. I don't know. It's kind of a niche weapon. It would be super fun to use. But I think that most of what I've seen from the community is they've got their work cut out for them on a mega rare because, it's a weird... And for all we know, they've had a plan from, you know, they've had a plan for a long time about where they're going to go with this. If it's going to be the next of like a trilogy of a different style of mega rare weapon. But people have become accustomed to a very specific type of mega rare, at least as far as their expectations. So I have no idea. I'm gonna give that one to Jagex to figure out.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one because we kind of have all three mega rares right now, right? It's I don't know. I like the idea of a fast weapon, but I'm not sure. I do think some obvious choices could be like a 5-tick crush, for example, right? Simple choice. It's scythe but crush, and then it would make scythe crush mode like irrelevant as well. Honestly, I would just get rid of it, but maybe that's like an obvious option. You still have like the different type of range weapons again, right? You could make like a crossbow that's really good. Yeah. Right. And give it, you know, we don't have enough bosses right now that are weak to crossbow specifically. Like they haven't fleshed it out enough, but
yeah,
you know, I'm sure within the raid itself, whatever, the mega rare will probably be pretty decent, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a little worried that they're going to deliver a mega rare that doesn't feel like a mega rare because I don't know. Because they have the trilogy right now, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe the mega rare is also not a weapon, right? It's like a glove slot or something like that. But I don't know how players will feel about that.
Right? Yeah. It would be weird if they released a raid without a badass weapon as the mega rare. That would,
yeah.
And it's, you know, and it's got to be worth over $1 billion, you know, in the sense of its usefulness to the game, or it won't feel like one. So it's got to be good in a lot of places. So yeah, it's a really hard thing. I could definitely, you know, yeah, like you said, the crush is something that a lot of people talk about, and that would definitely just require them to remove the crush bonuses from the scythe, which would probably cause it to plummet. And
I mean, at the same time, though, you don't have to remove it if it's going to be better anyways, right? Like, scythe would just be the second best option.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. I'm excited to see what we get, and I'm excited once again to see 55 No Monkey videos about why it's a terrible update and that we can get it to where it needs to be before it comes out, which is always the hardest thing about this game, is having it perfect. But
some comment I got on my YouTube video that I was like, oh, this is an interesting idea. Well, first of all, I expect a spec weapon of some sort to come out. Right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've given spec weapons any thought at all as to what they can be in the raid. I really haven't, to be honest, but I expect one.
I would like to see, and maybe this is overpowered, but I would like to see a passive defense reduction weapon, where maybe it's like 5 or 10% defense reduction every successful hit, so you don't have to use up all of your spec energy on defense reduction. I think that could be a cool idea. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Which that's the opposite of a spec weapon. But it helps other spec weapons, I guess.
I think they were originally going to do that with the Elder Maul. That was one of their rework ideas.
Oh, really?
Right. It was like the more you hit, the more it reduces. It was like 5% each hit.
Oh, interesting.
Right. But then they decided to just make it a spec. So I feel like by their own philosophy, they're likely not to do that. But
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So someone commented on my video. I wouldn't know if this would be the exact thing, but I do. So this is from Feedback RS. Thank you so much. But I think the idea, thinking outside the box, is kind of cool. But he said a melee plate body with a special attack that overrides the special attack of other weapons, and for 20% lowers your next melee hit by 1 tick. So like that's the effect of what it is, right? Mm-hmm. Which we could debate if it's good or not. Maybe Burning Claws is better. But I kind of low key like the idea of overriding the existing spec bar with a piece of, it could be like a glove or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And it could be it come from its own spec pool, or it could be sort of like the Sunlight Spear, right? Where it's like, it's got its own resource while you have it on type thing. And it doesn't have to be like the Sun Spear where you're building stacks or whatever. I'm just saying its own resource, and you like use it, and then you could still use your other special attacks and whatnot. So I like this comment from a standpoint of thinking outside of the box. Like maybe they could introduce a spec weapon or a spec piece of gear that is its own unique resource. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting idea.
No, that's really cool. I think Jagex has gotten a little skittish since the Soul Reaper Axe about making overcomplicated spec weapons, but you know, I think this community will figure it out. Like I think people had a lot more problems with the Soul Reaper Axe than just the overcomplicatedness of it, but I do think that was a lot of the takeaway was like, let's just make it simple. But, you know,
Soul Reaper Axe was launched with a ton of clunkiness, like a ton. It is so much better now. I have it and I love it. And if it launched that way, I think people would feel the same way. I think it's a great weapon. I think they're still like, they could have been a little bit more forgiving with some of the stack degradation and stuff like that. But generally it's like night and day better compared to before. Before you couldn't put a spec weapon on without losing all your stacks. It was horrible. Now you can. So, yeah, I guess that's a more prime example of its own resource. I'm not against that, though. I think that's still a decent idea, and it opens up doors. And I think coming from a raid makes sense as well. Yeah. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That's always the takeaway from this. They're gonna
And I don't think we'll see it this summit either.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they know the rewards.
Yeah, not with the 10-foot stick. I don't think so either.
Yeah.
A tease of the type of weapon that the mega would be at most. You know, maybe they'll have some Easter egg in the back of the poster of some weapon that people will hyper focus on or something. But no, I totally agree with that. Yeah. So that anything else on Raids 4? I mean, once again, we could talk about this for 5 more hours, but general, as far in the context of what we'll see at the summit, anything else you can think of?
No, I don't think so. I think that's more or less it. I think we'll just see where the area is. And I don't even know if we'll get teased on any of like the bosses and what they look like.
Yeah.
I think we'll just know the name of it and the area of it. I'm trying to think of how they release, like how they mentioned TOA to us and what details they gave us on release. That'd be a cool thing to go back to and check out just to see.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember as well.
I think they told us right away about the invocation system, and that it was in the desert. But I could be wrong. But maybe I'll go back to that and check it out.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. Okay, so moving on to the next of our list here, the last of the things that we are potentially going to see is the league's announcement. And I know we got some kind of I actually haven't looked at it yet. We got some kind of league's teaser, I believe. Like yesterday or a couple days ago.
Oh, we did? Oh my God, another one?
I thought we did.
We got the name of it or whatever, Demonic Pax.
Oh.
But did we get like an additional one on top of that?
Demonic Pax Leagues, January 8th. Oh, maybe, was it that far back? I don't know. Maybe time's just flying. In the main announcement, it says on the wiki, the main announcement will feature as part of the Winter Summit. So, okay, I guess confirmed we will see it in the Winter Summit, which I mean, isn't a huge leap of logic. Are you a big leagues guy?
I do enjoy leagues. I'm not a big leagues guy in terms of I go for the Dragon Cup or anything like that. I play it. I have a ton of fun. And then once I'm like done having fun, I go back to playing the main game.
Well,
I do love leagues. I
have never taken part in a league. I'm planning to this time around because this will be the first one on my Iron Man. And it's kind of like, I got to actually go get some of this stuff. So I am intending to participate in this one. But since I don't have much experience, I want to hear from you though, what you're hoping for, what you're expecting to see from this.
Well, I'm expecting them to explain what Demonic Pax means, like what we'll be doing in the league. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know what the speculation is. I feel like we're going to have to like complete certain packs to get certain rewards. I don't know.
It feels like you're going to spawn at Yama with that name.
It does. And I don't know if that'll necessarily be true. Yama is accessible right off the bat though, right? It's just the ferry ring to the chasm. But I feel like that would not be the best new player experience.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're still going to get something in Lumbridge unless we literally do spawn like in a different area. Yeah, I really don't know what it means, but I mean, after doing Gridmaster, I think what I'm looking forward to the most is choice. I want to make choices. I'm okay with not being like this mega like we'll be extremely powerful, don't get me wrong, but I'm okay with like having to make choices and having to make like trade-offs and still be like ridiculously strong. I think Gridmaster, I was like so strong that it was fun, but for a limited time. Because everybody ended up at the same power level and we were just ultimately strong, every gear set possible, every location possible. So I'm just looking forward to seeing what the gimmick is. I never did Shattered Relics. That's the only league I didn't do because it felt like it was going to be very different. But I don't know. Something tells me like this might be sort of in between like a traditional area league combined with some sort of system where you have to like, I don't know, take on these packs and customize your character. But I really don't know.
I have to jump in, and I forgot something you mentioned in your video as part of the game engine. You mentioned Gridmaster. Hopefully we do get an announcement of an official clan bingo integration into the game, because that is, I mean, coming from someone who's currently planning a bingo right now. Oh my goodness. I want that so bad.
Yeah, I would look forward to that, even at, like just having the announcements and stuff like that in your clan bingo. It probably would encourage me to like join a different clan or see if my clan's going to be doing that stuff.
Yeah,
because that was really fun, and having official systems like that I don't know, it just makes it much more compelling. I'm sure it'll be missing things for more complex bingos and stuff like that, but yeah, I love it when they take stuff from leagues and add it to the main game. And this is one example, and like there's been plenty, right? Even just like the collection log box that we get when we get a collection log, like that came from like the first league ever.
Oh, really?
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on like League Twisted, whatever it was called, and I was like, "Ooh, that's cool." And then like 4 months after the league ended, it was added to the main game because people were like, "The dopamine box." Right?
It really is.
I'm also a fan of leagues from that standpoint when they introduce stuff that ends up being pushed into the main game.
Yeah, like playtesting new ideas. I mean, we got the stackable clues.
Yeah, exactly. Stackable clues that was warmed up from leagues. Man, even stuff like the Sunlight Spear. There are people out there that believe the Sunlight Spear should exist at some form in the main game, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to it, and yeah, Clan Bingo, looking forward to that system as well. I expect that to be an update.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'm excited to take League seriously at least one time and get some of those. I want to take it very seriously because I got a lot of backlog rewards I want to unlock. It's always been a very weird experience. I think I did like an hour of the last leagues, and it just wasn't for me, but I will, just like a lot of other grinds in RuneScape, I will push through and Stockholm Syndrome myself into loving it for the rewards.
Yeah.
So our last thing on our list we have is, I've called it the X Factor, but our last, I believe, was the Summer Summit when we got the Yama announcement, I believe. It was just something that was on nobody's radar, something that was not related to any of the other things that they were announcing. Just like, hey, here's this endgame duo boss, and Yama was awesome, and Royal Titans was kind of the same way. Just these things that they just were like, hey, this is coming out. And if I remember right, it was very soon after the announcement too. Just like, this is something that's like almost fully fleshed out and coming, and it's not tied to anything else. And I think there's a ton of different possibilities for this. I think, Jagex, obviously last year, they definitely had a focus on duo encounters. They gave us a mid-game one. They gave us a pseudo in-game one, maybe a little closer to mid-game than in-game. But, I'm a big Yama lover, so I won't critique it too much. But yeah, if you had to think of what maybe an X factor, even going down the route of if they had like kind of a mid-game version and an in-game version of whatever that was, what are you expecting from that or hoping for?
Yeah, I want something similar to Titans and Yama. I want more group content, small group content. So I would love something like a trio boss. Like a trio mid-high end game boss, something like that. I think that'd be very, very fun. I think they're doing a really good job at fleshing out what duo looks like, and they can do a duo one. I'd be totally happy as well. But man, it'd be cool to do a trio one. And maybe it's trio, like you could still do it solo and everything like that. I still like stuff like that. Yama and Titans, I still do a lot of them solo anyways. But yeah, that I would very much look forward to something like that.
Yeah, we need to have this game set up similar to, like, I'm big into board gaming, tabletop gaming and stuff. And, I have games for every different player count. So we need to have the bosses fleshed out to be like, oh, we have 4 people. Okay, well, we should go do this boss. Or, somebody else is coming along. We got 5 people. We should go do this boss. And, they've really fleshed out the duos. And yeah, I would love to see from a stinky iron who can't do God Wars with my friends. I would love to see more group content that I can participate in. And
yeah, exactly.
Yama was so much fun, and shout out Midi. I love you, and I'm sorry that I got the drops and now I never want to do Yama again, but hopefully we get more bosses that we can do more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think something sort of like, I really like small team Nex. I think Nex feels really good. Trio, 4 people and even 5 people, like, feels very good. So if we could have something like that, I'd be stoked. Maybe there's a chance we get a rework to an existing boss. Maybe this is more of a summer sweep up. But the most obvious one that comes to mind is like Corp.
Oh god,
right?
Yeah, please.
Like either as a sweep up thing, or maybe he can just be straight up the new boss. Like it could be Corporeal Beast, but like it's a small group experience. It's more fun, and then maybe adjust the rewards or whatever slightly. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe they just say, "Hey guys, as part of the summer sweep up, it's been long enough, and most people don't care anymore. So irons can get dropped on all group bosses now, and we're going to rework the loot system so irons can get drops at Corp and they can get drops at God Wars and do those
that could
things
be a
with their
summer
friends."
sweep up thing where they kind of maybe with some limited bosses they can be like, okay, with this boss it'll be based on contribution.
Yeah,
right.
That would be it. Would be nice. It would definitely change the feeling of Iron. But man, it's I love Iron Man. But that time when they're like, who wants to do Corp, and nobody wants to go because we're all Irons, and it's like
So I would love something like that for the X Factor. One other X Factor that I was thinking of that I haven't mentioned that I think is like a real dark horse, like very unlikely. I think it's more likely that the conversations continue, but like an official Bronze Man, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't think it's going to be mentioned here at all, but I think a Bronze Man mode would be a cool mode for a lot of players who are on the fence between an Iron Man and a main, who want to be able to get their own drops, but find ways to unlock their supplies and shorten their grinds in some ways. So that'd be cool. But,
I'm on a few times on this podcast. I've said I think Bronze Man is the perfect account for RuneScape. Like it is the perfect balance of both of them.
I want to do a video on Bronze Man mode and talk about it because I think it would have been really beneficial for a lot of the WoW streamers to do Bronze Man mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I think the Iron Man mode was the right choice. I think some people go a little too far and say they should have played a main. I think they would have quit 2 days into playing a main because they would have been given items without realizing it, whatever. Yeah. But Iron Man for a lot of them, once at the mid game, was a lot. So I don't know. I'm not sure what the rules are of Bronze Man mode exactly, like to a T, right? Like, do you need to get the Herblore level to get the pot, or do you need to boost and be able to make one before unlocking that pot, or do you
just get it as a drop?
Or get it as a drop and then it's fully unlocked. Like, I don't know what the rules are there exactly. I have ideas of what I think it should be. Yeah. But that would be a dark horse. But I feel like that's more of a discussion thing. And then, I don't know, maybe next summit, or it's just because we're talking about summit here. And these are supposed to be like the big beats. But there's going to be things that we don't know about at all that come in the middle. That are just random updates. Right. And it's like, it wasn't mentioned at any summit, but it ended up on the roadmap because maybe it's a smaller thing, or maybe they weren't ready to show it off, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. My dark horse is something that was kind of a Reddit meme that I thought was actually a really cool idea, was the essentially Desert Maw, which is taking the failed Wrath Maw pitch and making it like a dune desert sandworm that wasn't a PvP at all. Making that into a group boss. I was thinking it could even have, that could be that whole stab armor kind of boss that comes from, because that feels kind of deserty. You know, Toa has all the stab weapons and stuff. And so having like Wrathmaw hide armor, or Desert Maw, whatever you want to call it, hide armor could be like the stab version of those. But once again,
that'd be cool.
Dark horse. I mean, like I said, it was just a Reddit meme, but I mean, shit, we gotta pull for the holy molies right now. So the Reddit memes are coming into the game.
That's a good point. I mean, it'd be cool to get some sort of like I like the idea of like world bosses, right? Bosses that exist in the world themselves. And that would be an example of it. Dude, even the fact that the gemstone crab is like there is cool. Right? Yeah. So that'd be cool. Do you think that there'll be any PvP updates? That's something that I think a lot. I've gotten a lot of comments around people being like, "What are they going to mention for PvP?" We haven't even discussed it. Well, other than Dead Man Annihilation, right?
Right, of course.
Some people feel like that's the quota. Dead Man Annihilation quota met for the year.
Yeah.
But could they do anything? Could they do something to the wilderness? Right.
I could see. I mean, I don't think we're going to get anything on ship PvP. I don't think we're there yet. I know that a lot of people want that.
4 years at least, if not never.
Yeah, it would be cool. And I will admit, I'm talking out of my ass a little bit on this because I have not done enough of sailing. I have not gone into this untamed ocean. I'm just pulling it up on my map right now. But it would be interesting if there was some kind of new PvP content in these, sailing areas that are by the wilderness. But I'll be honest. I'm a classic RuneScape player. I don't think much about PvP, and I get butthurt every time I get PK'd. So I always am in favor of PvP updates because I want them to have somewhere else to go. But yeah, I don't know. PvP is so weird to me because the things that are actually encouraging PvP to like LMS is an example of something where that feels like what PvPers should want from PvP. In the sense of like, hypothetically, of course, without bots and all that, you get like fair fights with a little bit of, that whole battle royale feel or some of these different, even Castle Wars could have the potential to be like a top tier PvP minigame, but it's all about the reward space. And the biggest reward space is always going to be, smiting somebody that isn't expecting it for some item that they shouldn't have had on them in the first place. And so it's inherently a very difficult part of this game, and I'm not as optimistic as some people about PvP. I know, if Dills was on this episode, he would probably have a lot to say because he loves PKing and stuff. But I don't know. I would love for them. I want them to be happy. I think that similar to UIMs, a part of the game I do not interface with at all. That doesn't matter. They're part of the community and they deserve updates just as much as we do. And so I hope that they get something, but I just don't know how you kind of fix that conundrum of making it valuable enough for them. And since it's a PvP, it's kind of the same as like boxing or something. Like if it's PvP, there's an inherent possibility of, cheating, or it's a lot easier to just have bots that will die every time and you can get whatever the reward is. So it'll always be a harder thing to kind of police.
Yeah, I think so. And like, I'm always on the fence, right? Because you have PvP updates, which are like player versus player. They fight. It could be LMS, it could be the Rev Caves, stuff like that. But then you have like PK updates where it's like PVM-ish players who have to deal with PKers, right? And I'm like prey versus, predator type things. And I'm always on the fence because obviously I don't enjoy being the prey in a lot of cases. And it can be annoying to do certain content when you got PKers around you. But I don't know. I would prefer ideally that they come out with some sort of PvP update that serves for player versus player content, not PK content. But at the same time, I wouldn't be against. I thought the Wilderness update they did a couple years ago with the bosses, how they gave them their own layers and they gave them like solo versions versus group versions. I thought that was a really good update to the Wilderness. And they introduced the Void Waker that way. I wouldn't mind something similar to that again. Like even out there, we still have like the Chaos Elemental and the Fanatic, whatever, like kind of useless, if I'm being honest. Like maybe those could be reworked as well, right? To be similar to what they did. And the Archaeologist, right? Those could be like hotspots that they could rework. And by and large, even as the prey, they made it relatively forgiving for me to be able to get away and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be totally against an update like that. Maybe even like in the sweep up, they could do like a Wilderness refresh. Yeah. To at least give PKers, not even PvPers, but PKers, something to look forward to, even at the detriment of my own experience. Yeah. Because they are part of the community. Yeah.
In the PvP update that I think was missed the mark, but I think had potential was Wrathmaw. I actually liked it more than a lot of people. I think what Wrathmaw should have been is a group boss where you have 2 teams, but kind of 3 teams, where the idea is that you have people who are trying to kill the boss, people who are trying to kill the people killing the boss, and then a group of people who are successful if the PVMers don't die. So you basically have people protecting the PVMers, people trying to kill the PVMers, and then the PVMers are trying to kill the boss. And so you have that incentive for actual PvP of 2 people who are equally interested in fighting each other, going after each other. But you still have that kind of predator versus prey where if you do get past them, you are attacking somebody who's not really fighting back. And maybe if, if the PVMers are successful, that team of defenders also gets a share of the loot or something. But I don't know. I thought Wrathmaw was a really cool idea, but it just got downvoted into oblivion to the point where I don't know if they'll ever revisit anything like that.
Yeah, it's tough. I just some of the concepts of it were really good. So I guess the execution. Yeah. I'm not sure. I also didn't like the world hopping kind of aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was that would have been, I didn't like that part of it either.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's our X Factor, which obviously could be anything, but I'm hoping we do get some kind of X Factor boss. And I think we're both hoping it's a trio or 4-man type boss where it's just more group content. I mean, they've been knocking it out of the park with group content. And yeah, that is what the extent of we're expecting to see, hoping to see at the Winter Summit. I think we'll probably see about 20% of what we talked about here today. But, you know, we have the big beats we know are coming. We know Deadman, we know Blood Moon Rises, probably something sailing related, probably more information on Raids 4, nothing concrete probably. Or, well, I guess what we get will be concrete, but nothing super substantial. Just probably a poster with the name and the setting on it. And yeah, hopefully some kind of X Factor things, summer sweep up. I'm always so excited for that. And hopefully once again, we get Mod Ash playing the violin, or doing something like that. Cause that was iconic. But yeah, anyways, that is the Winter Summit, and that's all from us. So Travag, thank you so much for coming on. I've been a fan for a long time, so I'm excited that we got you on the podcast. And like I said at the beginning, I'll say it one more time. Go check out his videos. They are some of the best as far as guides and just information about the game. Very well thought out, very well produced.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and we'll have all of, socials and everything down below. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. Hopefully we got some more episodes coming out soon. But until then, thank you all for listening.